What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Board Games Are For Everybody, where today we are going to be talking about the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim The Adventure Game, but not the base game. We are going to be talking about Dawnguard. That's right, we're finally on the Dawnguard expansion. We finished up the final module from the Ashes the other day. So we are going to start heading into Dawnguard. Now today we're going to be going over the new rules from the instruction booklet. We're going to do a read through of the instructions. We're going to set up the map, the new way the map is supposed to go. And we're going to see everything that has been added with the Dawnguard expansion. So I'm hoping that the only thing I'm going to need from the base game is the board. Everything else that I need should be in here as far as new components go. And we'll also probably organize our cards as well, because we need to organize the new cards into the box. So we got our rule book here. We have our silica pack. Always got to have the silica packs. Let's get the board out. Let's get the board out, because we're gonna have to put some stuff on the board. And hopefully it's the only thing that we're going to need. We'll see, I guess. Put that over there in the corner. Let's get this board out very sloppily, because sometimes expanding this board can be a bit of a pain. Oh, I forgot a vampire in there apparently. Just have to put that back in its proper bag afterwards. Keep that over here so I remember to put it back. Okay, we've got our board set up. Let's just hop right into the rules here and see what it is that we're dealing with. Put our board down here so we can actually see it. Well, mostly see it. We can see the map, which is the part we actually need to see. That's the important part, right? So that is good. Let's get into... Oh, we have to go over the introduction, obviously. Got to go through the introduction. Our heroes enter Attribution's share, the plain of Boethia, chasing their mortal enemy, Oviran Salith. Lost forever, or so it would seem. Meanwhile, in Skyrim, Lord Harkon rallies his family to find his lost daughter, Serana. He follows the tyranny of the sun, a prophecy that he believes will allow him to block the sun forever. The only ones who could oppose him are the vigilance of Stendarr, but they are blind to the threat he represents. Welcome to Dawnguard, the first expansion for the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim The Adventure Game. The new episode in the Chronicle will allow players to enlist with the Dawnguard or become vampires working against each other, and against the insidious influence of the Daedric Prince Boethia. So, yeah, as it said, Dawnguard was the first expansion for the game. We didn't get Dawnguard first. We got From the Ashes first, so I guess we did this kind of backwards. I didn't do a dive into the actual characters when we did the unboxing for this. So let's take a look at our actual new characters here, starting with the Readguard. We've got our Readguard soldier here. Let's see what the book has to say about the Readguard. Readguard, descending from proud lines of warriors and seers, their nomadic costumes bring the Readguard from their native palace in Hammerfell in every province in Tamriel. Fearsome fighters, their ability with swords and shield is second to none. The Readguard, once per game turn, adrenaline rush. In combat, lose 1 health to restore all stamina. Dang, that would be... I think we're going to be playing as a Readguard. That's pretty good. After learning one-handed, add 1 damage to one-handed, also good. After learning alteration, if an alteration spell is equipped, +1 magic. Is that magic armor? Or is that magic attack? I guess it would be magic armor if an alteration spell is equipped. That could be good too. That could be pretty good. Next up, we have the Bosmer, which is this one here with the crossbow, I believe. We have the Bosmer, our next addition. Bosmer, commonly referred to as wood elves, these Mer enjoy the simple life and are in tune with nature. Their archery skills are the stuff of legends from Skyrim all the way to Valenwood. Once per game turn, command animal, make a animal attack itself this combat round. That's not bad. After learning alchemy, once per game turn, when you collect a resource, roll an alchemy skill test. Collect an additional resource for every triangle you get. That's not, or every diamond you get, sorry. That's not too bad. Good way to get resources, which is a good way to get money, also to level up your gear. After learning archery, add 1 damage to bows. That's not too bad. The Bosmer also pretty good. Also seems pretty good. Next up, we have the Breton. Here is our Breton character. Got our bow and our quiver on our back. Breton, renowned sorcerers and the natives from High Rock have a rich and controversial history. Often seen around Tamriel selling their services as mercenaries or trading goods, they are distantly related to the Forsworn in Skyrim. Breton, Dragonskin, in combat, anytime you lose health due to magic, restore 1 magicka. After learning conjuration, summon follower and select one. I'll have to look into how that works. I'm not quite sure how that one works. It's just the plus card, which is usually draw a card. Just summon, draw a card, and select one. I guess you have to draw enemies, possibly. After learning speech, when selling any item, gain 2 additional septums. Not terrible. Not terrible. And last but not least, we have the Argonian with his pickaxe and his bow. I think this is supposed to be a bow. But it just looks like a stick, which I guess a bow is just a stick. There should be like a little string on it. Although I guess the other ones don't have strings either. Well, like plastic bits to represent a string. So last up, we got the Argonian. The inhabitants of the Black Marsh have reptilian features and are often discriminated against in Skyrim. They tend to live close to the water and are famous for their dexterity and innate regenerative abilities. Regenerative? I missed a letter. The Argonian, once per game turn, is that Hist Skin? Hist Skin. In combat, lose 2 stamina to restore 1 health. After learning lockpicking, every time you gain any septums, roll a lockpicking skill test, gain 1 additional septum for every triangle you get. After learning light armor, if a light armor is equipped, rest regenerates all stamina. Wow. Rest regenerating all stamina could be very, very useful for us. And that is our 4 new characters that have been added to the Dawnguard expansion. So let's start with our first page of new rules here. New rules. This expansion follows all the rules of the... I can't hold, apparently. It's fallen away from me. This expansion follows all the rules of the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim The Adventure Game, but also adds a few new ones. Day and night. The expansion includes a circular token. This is the day-night token. When the sun side is face up, it is daytime. When the moon side is face up, it is nighttime. Most event cards will feature the flip icon When this appears, When this appears, the day/night token is flipped. If a quest shows the day icon, it can only be attempted while the sun side is face up. When a quest features the night icon, it can only be attempted while the moon side is face up. During the night, when the day-night token is flipped with the moon side up, all characters roll an additional die when rolling for sneak in combat. During the daytime, when the day-night token is flipped with the sun side up, vampire players increase their hunger by 1. Check the hunger rules on page 8 for more information. Oh, we're on page 8? There's been no hunger yet. So, we had a thing of tokens here, didn't we? Oh, here they are. I was going to say, we had a thing of tokens. So where is that day? Here it is. This is our day-night. So we've got our day-night token here. Here's the day side, +1 hunger. Here's the night side, 1 additional sneak dice. That's pretty nice, having that additional sneak die. That's pretty good. Clan Volkahar. Lord Harkin, leader of Clan Volkahar, has pledged himself to the Daedric prince Molag Bal. 1,000 innocents were sacrificed to seal the pact, and Molag Bal rewarded Lord Harkin by turning him and his family into pure-blooded vampires. Lord Harkin is now looking for a way to fulfill the tyranny of the Sun prophecy. The Vigilance of Stendarr. The Vigilance of Stendarr is a militant order of priests and nomads founded in the aftermath of the Oblivion Crisis. They are dedicated to protect the land from Daedric influence by bestowing the blessing of Stendarr on the population, providing healing when needed, and eradicating Daedric cults all across Skyrim. So we now have some rules for our factions. During Chapter 1, players will be offered the chance to pledge their allegiance to 2 different factions, the Vigilance of Stendarr or the Volkahar clan. Players can choose their allegiance freely. All players can side with the same faction or enlist on opposing sides. When that moment comes, any player choosing the Clan Volkahar side will draw a vampirism card. Read the vampire section on page 12 for more information. Players cannot place threat tokens on the active quests of players from a different faction. For example, when a Vigilant of Stendarr player has to add a threat token, they could add it to an active quest of another Vigilant of Stendarr player, but couldn't add it to the Vampires player active quest. And it looks like we have some more threat token information here. During the game, players will sometimes be given the option of placing threat tokens on empty spaces on the board. These represent small pockets of chaos and disarray spreading across Skyrim. Each turn after moving, if a player has moved through or ended their movement on a threat token, they must take that token and place it on one of their faction's active quests, on a world quest, or on the stronghold chart. These threat tokens can only be removed from the board by taking them or through the effect of an event card. Forts. There are 2 new spaces on the board represented by the fort tokens. Castle Volkahar is placed north of Hafingar, and the Hall of the Vigilant is placed in the middle of the pale, shown in the pictures below. Okay, well, let's put those on the map so that we can see how they work. So we've got the Hall of the Vigilant here, which looks like it goes into Dawnstar, or well, Dawnstar's up here. So it's kind of down a little bit, where it's like right in the bottom of Dawnstar, it looks like. It's like right here. Let's move these guys up into the Sea of Ghosts. So this one's right here pretty well. So we got a new part to the map here, adding on a little fort into the side here. This is going to drive me nuts trying to keep this lined up while I'm playing. We're just going to have to get it as best as we can. Yeah, that's going to drive me crazy. And we also have our Castle Volca here, which Castle Volca here is the same on both sides, I'm pretty sure. Yep, same on both sides. So Castle Volca here, it said came up by Halffinger. It's right off the coast on the side here. And that's where Castle Volca here is. So we have Castle Volca here now added up to the top of the board, up here to the west of Solitude. And we have the Hall of Vigilance, kind of smack dab in the middle of the north, just southeast of Dawnstar. At the start of Chapter 2, the Hall of Vigilant token is flipped so it represents Fort Dawnguard. The token is now placed east of Riften, shown in the picture below. So, for Chapter 2, it looks like the Hall of Vigilance. We flip over to Fort Dawnstar, and that is coming down here just north of Riften. And that is how it will look once we get to Chapter 2. So, Fort Dawnguard and the Hall of Vigilance, sorry, two different things. So I guess the fort changes. I'm sure that's a thing that happened in the games. I honestly don't play the DLC much. I don't really play the game much when I play. Usually I start a new character and we do a couple dungeons and then I get bored of playing it. The newly created spaces on the board are now only accessible to players of the relevant factions. At the beginning of the game, Vigilants of Stendarr cannot enter Castle Volkihar, and vampires cannot enter the Hall of the Vigilant, unless a quest requires the player to move there. Page number 10. We are now moving on to fort cards. If I can get this to kind of sit well in the camera. Each faction has their own fort card. This card represents the bonuses and abilities of the forts provided to the players. On Chapter 1, the fort card also shows the defenses of the fort. In the case of the Hall of the Vigilant or the reinforcements sent by Clan Volkihar to defend a specific place. Did I read that right? Hold on. On Chapter 1, the fort card also shows the defenses of the fort in the case of the Hall of the Vigilant or the reinforcements sent by Clan Volkihar to defend a specific place. Once Chapter 2 begins, both fort cards are flipped and the Hall of the Vigilant card becomes Fort Dawnguard. In all forts, Hall of the Vigilant, Castle Volkihar, and Fort Dawnguard, players can now browse any market deck, purchase any type of component for 5 septums, and upgrade and enchant items as if they were in regular strongholds. That's pretty nice. So if we are a part of that faction, we can buy... Basically, we can do anything that we need to do that we could do in a stronghold, with the exception of exploring the stronghold within whatever fort faction we're in. So that's nice. We can upgrade our items. So if we're closer to a fort than we are to, well, I mean, I guess they're both kind of close, but if we wanted to do other stuff, I guess, you know, like say Riften, you can only purchase from the green and blue decks. Well, maybe you want to purchase from the red deck. Well, the closest red deck is over in Whiterun, which from Riften is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces away at least. And from Fort Dawnguard, it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces away at least. So going into Fort Dawnguard to try and get through the red deck could be beneficial. Also, it allows you to buy any resource that you want for 6. That's pretty good. Most places have resources at either 4, with the exception of Dawnstar, which has coal at 3, which is pretty good. And any of the places that allow you to purchase any resource that you want, which the only place is Whiterun, you have to pay 4 for. So you're only paying 1 extra septum to get any resource that you want while inside your forts. That's not too bad. It did say that Castle Volkihar gets flipped over as well. Is that... I wonder if flipping it matters, because it looks like it's in the same space still. So I wonder if flipping it over actually matters at all. It's still in the same space regardless of what way it's flipped, what orientation it's flipped. Okay, leveling up the fort. Vigilance of Stendarr and Dawnguard players can work towards improving and gaining recognition within their faction. To do so, players can assign any number of experience tokens they gain to their fort card instead of gaining themselves. Once the fort card has gathered enough experience to level up, all experience tokens are removed and a septum token is added to the fort card to show it is leveled up. The fort now provides new bonuses to the player of that faction. Players can go to the fort and recruit new followers or acquire new items. If the fort is leveled up to a point where a new follower or any new items are available, a player in the fort space can just draw the specified follower card from the numbered deck, or the specified item card from the Dawnguard item deck. If a follower card is not available, another player already took it, just draw the next numbered card. Each player can only draw 1 copy of each different follower or item during the game. Items gained in forts can be sold. In that case, discard the item card. The Dawnguard. The Dawnguard is an order of vampire hunters that was founded by the Jarl of the Rift during the Second Era. The reasons behind their disbanding are lost and only rumors remain. With Clan Volkihar's influence growing in Hafengar and Skyrim, Isran, former Vigilant of Stendarr, decided to reform the Ancient Order and face the vampire threat. So, it's talking about these cards, these fort cards. Let me see if I can find those fort cards so we can take a look at them. I see the vampirism cards. Maybe it's in there. These are just our reference cards for our vampires and something about contested skill tests. So we will get into that for sure. The stuff about hunger and feeding, we're definitely going to have to keep up one of these reference cards if we decide to be a vampire, that's for sure. Okay, vampire card. Is it in here? These are our vampire cards. Ah, here's the Hall of it. So I guess this is it, eh? So these are our vampirism cards. I guess these are what allow us to... Okay, are these all... These are all the same because I guess 4 players can have them. So these are our vampirism cards. They show our armor, our spells, our abilities, and our weaknesses. This always thing, the threat token, threat token, threat token, I'll have to figure, maybe they're just permanent effects. We'll have to figure that out. But on the first row here, we have the always. We have Vampiric Drain, draw Vampiric Drain. Ability, Champion of the Night, illusion spells restore 2 stamina and 2 magicka. Weakness to sunlight, don't automatically regenerate health during the day. With a threat token, I guess this is a level up kind of thing. Maybe we'll get to that. Vampire spawning deck. I'm not sure if we've gotten to that yet for the vampires. 1 magic armor. Spell. Vampiric Servant. Draw Vampiric Servant. I guess that's a follower. Night Stalker. Footsteps. Sneak +1. That's not too bad. Sunlight. Don't automatically regenerate stamina or magicka during the day. Another threat token. I guess this is level 3. No new armor, but new spell, Vampiric Seduction. Once per game turn, the enemy doesn't attack this combat round. New ability of Vampiric Strength, +1 to all damage. Weakness, can't explore wilderness spaces. That's pretty rough. And our last level, it looks like, we gain 1 light armor. We get the Embrace of Shadows. Once per game turn in combat, automatically succeed at sneak. That's pretty good. Automatically succeeding a sneak would be great, especially from the examples we saw when we were doing the Dark Brotherhood stuff there, because when we were getting to the end of that, those guys had 10 sneak dice that you needed to get. You needed 10 circles to be able to sneak up on them, which is pretty ridiculous. New ability, Vampiric Strength, +1 to all damage. And the weakness, can't explore any strongholds when you're at the max level for your vampirism. Next up, we have our Fort Dawnguard and our Hall of Vigilance. And then we have Forts Volkihar here. So these are our level ups for the Hall of Vigilance. I guess the regular one, the armor, Amulet of Stendarr, no followers or weapons. At level 7, no armor and no follower, but we gain the weapon, the Mace of Stendarr, and whatever that is, 2 something. 2 somethings. I'm going to have to check what that symbol means. And then at level 8, maybe that's 2 followers? Or that's the vampire symbol. Something about 2 vampires? I don't know. We'll have to look into that. And then the final level with 8 experience, we have no new armor, but we do gain 552 as a follower. And we gain Stendarr's aura, as well as 2 more of this vampire thing that we're going to have to look into. The defenses, 1 and 2, gain us 503 and 504. 3 and 4 gain us 502, 503, and 504. 5 and 6 gain us 502, 512, 503, and 504. Whatever that means. I guess we'll figure out defenses. On the backhand side, we have Fort Dawnguard. Basic level, we gain the follower, 540. Weapons, we gain the crossbow. At 7 experience, we gain a boot, a helmet, and a shield, it looks like. Followers, no new followers. Weapons, steel bolts. At 10 experience, light and heavy armor. Follower, 544. Weapons, dwarven crossbow, and dwarven bolts. And the final level at 15, no new armor, but we gain follower 548, and we get to enhance the dwarven crossbow and explosive bolts. And then we have Castle Volkihar here. These seem to be different on both sides. I'm sure we'll figure out what that means as we're playing. So first side for Castle Volkihar. In Castle Volkihar, you can remove all your hunger tokens, place up to 1 threat token on the threat event deck, access any market deck, buy any resource for 5 septums, upgrade and enchant your items. On the back side of Castle Volkihar here, we have all the same stuff on the left-hand section there, but now we also have some more stuff. Servants of Molag Bal, 1 to 2 gains 515 and 516. 3 to 4 gains 513, 515, and 516. 5 to 6 gains 513, 514, 515, and 516. Maybe that's players? No, that doesn't make sense. You can only have 4 players. I'll have to look up what those mean. But those are our fort cards, as well as our vampirism cards there. So we are now going on to Fort character cards. The 2 Fort character card decks, Fort Dawnguard character cards and Castle Volkihar character cards, are put in play at the beginning of Chapter 2. These work the same way as Wilderness or Stronghold cards, or Town cards, I guess, the Town Exploration cards, but can only be drawn when the player is in Fort Dawnguard or Castle Volkihar. So to back up on what we said before, it looks like we can actually explore in our castles. Each faction has their own fort character cards. A player cannot draw fort character cards of the opposing faction. These cards represent relevant characters of each faction that will give the player personal quests, allowing them to increase their standing within the group. When drawing personal quests from cards in these decks, the fort character cards are not removed from the game during Chapter 2. After drawing a fort character card, the player places it back on the bottom of the deck. Some quests of the opposing factions will discard some fort character cards. Cards discarded this way are not removed from the game, but placed in the fort character card deck's discard pile. If either of the fort character card decks is exhausted, all of the cards in the discard pile, the deck is not shuffled back until the end of the chapter. During Chapter 3, the fort character card decks are still present. Vampire spawning. Well, actually here, let's take a look at those character card decks. I think those ones are familiar. I think those ones I know. Those are all events. These are all quests and stuff. That's stuff that just goes into the... These are all things that just go into the box. So we'll grab that out in a sec, because we are going to have to put all of those in there. This is also stuff that seems to be going into the box. More just numbered pieces. We got more numbered pieces. Trying to get this card out without bending it like crazy. That was on the back. Yeah, 91. So we got 91, 92. Is this 6? 36, 37. So this goes here. Where are those character cards? Man, oh man. Is it literally going to be the last ones I pull out? These little thumb tabs here are pointless. I still can't get the cards out. So this is more stuff. This seems to mostly be followers and such. Oh, or yeah, these are, it looks like a whole bunch of followers in the back here. So that's good. So this is 500 and up to 46. So these are on the top. Is this the one that we need? Literally the last... Okay, here we go. So these are our other chapters here. Here are the cards we were looking for. So what, these are chapter 3? So these are 1, Dawnguard 1, Dawnguard 2. That is a lot of Dawnguard 2, jeez. 2 is going to take a while, it looks like, and then Dawnguard 3. So these are all of our events, and these seem to be what we were looking for here. Oh, where those are our dungeons. I'll put those in there in a sec. Ah, our new creatures. Those are going to be shuffled in with the other creatures, and it looks like these are the cards we were looking for. There we go. Geez. So we've got our vampire character cards for while we're in Castle Volkihar. We have our cards that we can search out, like being in a stronghold. And then we also have our ones for Fort Dawnguard and the Hall of Vigilance. Is that what it was called? Hall of the Vigilant. I was close. Hall of the Vigilant. So those are those cards there. Let's shuffle these, not shuffle them, but get these into their proper chapters. So that when we do them, we can easily access them. This one's at the back. Okay. So, the Vampire Spawning Deck. Due to the negative influence of Clan Volkihar, new creatures roam Skyrim, making exploration more dangerous and more rewarding. These new creatures are contained in the vampire spawning deck. The deck is organized like a regular dungeon deck with number 7 at the bottom and number 0 on top. Oh, maybe that's what our... what these were? Oh, there's our character cards. Our new character cards. Those will have to go in with the thing. Oh, to 7. So yeah, I guess this is just the vampire... I guess this is just the vampire deck, so these don't get shuffled in then? These are specifically vampire ones? Maybe. I hope, is it marked to let you know that that's the case? I feel like maybe they do get added in with the other deck. I don't know. Where were we? Spawning deck. The deck is organized like a regular dungeon deck with number 7 at the bottom and 0 on top. Only this deck has 3 cards with the number 7 and only 1 with the number 0. Whenever a player is prompted to add a card from the vampire spawning deck to a dungeon, the player takes the top card of the vampire spawning deck and checks the back. Then, the player shuffles the card with the top 3 cards of the deck that matches its back. If the vampire spawning deck is exhausted, ignore all instructions. Add cards from it to the dungeon deck. So, I guess they get added slowly over time. But we could just start with them in the deck, right? We could just start with them in the deck. So, yeah, if they need to be separated, then if they need to be separated so that the vampires can spawn them, I wish there was just a mark, some sort of mark that told me that these were the ones for that specific thing. Because, like, the Feral Vampire Thrall, that makes sense. Vampire Night Stalker, Vampire Assassin, Starving Vampire, Vampire Master, Molag Bal, obviously. And again, Nightmaster Vampire, like, those are fine. You can tell that, obviously, that would go into the vampire deck. That makes sense. Does this side here say anything? No. But things like the Saber Cat, things like the Feral Foamer to an extent. I mean, some of the other ones do say feral in them. And the Snowy Saber Cat, like, I would get those, if those were in the deck already, they'd be in there. They'd be in there. I would have no clue that this is what I would have to take out. So we'll see how it goes while we're going through the what am I trying to say? While we're going through the campaigns for the Dawnguard here, we'll see how that goes. But I'm thinking that we're just going to have them put into each creature deck when we do free roam mode. Okay, moving on to faction rules, starting with the Vigilance of Stendarr and the Dawnguard. In many ways, the Vigilance of Stendarr and the Dawnguard work similarly. Their powers come from their items and followers, and they take advantage of the board being as clean of threat tokens and roaming monsters as possible. Vampires. Look how simple the Vigilance of Stendarr one is, and now look at the vampire one. Look at the vampire one. That's ridiculous. Vampire players have a few rules that make them different from regular players. Each vampire player receives a vampirism card as soon as they join the faction. Those are the ones that we went over before there. Each vampire player receives a vampirism... the card lists a series of bonuses and disadvantages they gain or lose as the hunger increases. Vampire players cannot regenerate health when the day-night token is flipped with the sun side up. As their hunger increases, they also lose the ability to regenerate stamina or magicka. As a result, vampire players will roam around the world wounded, tired, and unable to regenerate. Vampire players taking a rest action in combat or using spells, potions, or abilities will be able to restore their tracks normally. So you'll have to regenerate by resting, but you can't do it like in between battles or in the, well, not really in the overworld. Well, I guess you wouldn't regenerate in the overworld. I think that's what it's saying. Increased levels of hunger can also prevent vampirism players from exploring wilderness and stronghold spaces. This means that they can't draw from the wilderness or building decks, access the markets, or upgrade and enchant their items. A vampire player can always enter a stronghold or a wilderness space to complete a quest. Vampire players gain restrictions as their hunger increases. They also become more powerful. Once a player is turned into a vampire, they gain access to the Drain spell. This spell card, as well as a vampiric servant gained when the player's hunger increases, can be equipped at any time and doesn't count towards the limit of 4 items in the player's backpack. Increased levels of hunger give the player additional armor and new powers. All the bonuses and weaknesses derived from hunger stack on each other and are lost once the player's hunger is sated, only to be regained as the hunger increases again. Hunger. Vampire players can accrue up to 3 threat tokens on their vampirism card. Each of them represents a new, higher level of hunger. Each turn, after drawing an event card, if the day-night token is flipped with the sun side face up, all vampire players add 1 threat token to their vampirism card. If any vampire player already has 3 threat tokens on their vampirism card, they must feed immediately. Feeding. A vampire player can feed at any point during their turn. This doesn't constitute an action when a vampire player feeds. Place a threat token on their vampirism card in the following: up to 1 threat token on quest cards, any of their own active quests or a world quest. Up to 1 threat token on a stronghold chart. Up to 1 threat token on a player's current space or the board. Up to 1 threat token on the threat event deck. The player cannot place more than 1 threat token on each of these 4 options. For example, a player with 2 threat tokens could only assign 1 of them to the threat event deck and 1 to one of their quests or world quests. If the player is forced to feed by a game event, such as having to add 1 threat token before drawing an event and having already 3 threat tokens on their vampirism card, the player must feed immediately before the game progresses. Choose whether and where to feed can make a significant strategic difference. So we talked about the vampirism cards already. We did that. So that far left, the threat tokens on the far left of the vampirism cards, those were our hunger. That makes sense. So what was it? It was talking about the threat deck. We saw the threat deck. Where did that go? I thought we had the threat deck. But maybe we didn't. Maybe it's in the... It must be in the... Event. Ah, here it is. So we have all these threat events. So it looks like in the course of... That's probably why Campaign 2 had so many. A bunch of them are threats, and then these are the rest of our Campaign 2 events here. So it's because there's so many of these threat events. So let's take a look at those. Let's see what the threat events entail. So we've got something like this. Threat event, Shadow Strike. A Fang in the Dark. Place 1 vampire token on an empty space on the board. So it looks like we're adding enemies to try and overcome things. Interesting. That's cool. I guess we'll figure out more about that when we actually get into campaign number 2. That is the end of chapter 2. Okay. Threat event deck. Clan Volkahar, I keep wanting to say Volkahar, Clan Volkihar is powerful, and its influence spreads all across Skyrim. As the vampire players work with the family, they get to see the effect of that influence. Each card in the threat event deck has a number on the back, together with the threat symbol. This is the number of threat tokens that vampire players have to place on that card to add it to the event deck. At the end of each turn, players check if the number of threat tokens on the top card of the threat event deck matches or surpasses the amount needed. If it does, remove all threat tokens from the card and place the threat events on the top of the event deck. Threat event cards do not feature day and night icons. Players can use this to their advantage. Players can add threat tokens to the threat event deck in any of the following scenarios. When the starting player draws an event card, they can add one of the threat tokens from the event card to the threat event deck. When vampires feed, they can add one of the threat tokens from their hunger to the threat event deck. When specifically instructed by the event or quest card, some of the cards in the threat event deck have the number 0 on the back. These represent events that are negative for vampires, generally caused by their blind ambitions and greed. At the end of the turn, if the top card of the threat deck has the number 0, add the card to the top of the event deck. If the next card has a 0, add it as well, and so on until the top card of the threat event deck has a number other than 0. Roaming vampires. The Dawnguard expansion includes a new series of vampire roaming monster tokens. When the game prompts the player to place a vampire token on the board, use any vampire token, either from the original game or from the expansion. It is recommended that you place all of these tokens in a bag and draw a random one. Vampire players can move through vampire tokens or end their movement on top of them without triggering an encounter. This means that vampire players can use these tokens to block the way of Vigilant, of Stendarr, and Dawnguard players across the board. Molag Bal. Lord of the Rings, maybe? Sounds Lord of the Rings-ish. Molag Bal. Molag Bal is the Daedric prince of domination and enslavement. His hunger for mortal souls is unquenchable, and this reflects in the unquenchable thirst for blood of vampires, of which Molag Bal is forefather. He is a perennial fight with Boethia. He is in a perennial fight with Boethia, not flight. They're just running. They're both running, you know. And it looks like that is it for our new rules. We are now into our chapters and our scenarios. The back has a hunger diagram. That's pretty useful. Draw and resolve an event card. Into check the day-night token. Is it night? Play the turn normally. Is it day? Does any vampire have 3 threat tokens on their vampirism card? If yes, vampire player with 3 threat tokens on their vampirism card immediately feed. All other vampire players add 1 threat to their vampirism card. Play turn normally. If no, all vampire players add 1 threat token to their vampirism card. Play turn normally. So that was our rulebook reading for the Dawnguard expansion. Now let's get all of these cards. Let's get all of these cards put into the base box there. We're going to see how much we can actually get into the base box, because the more I can squeeze into the base box, the happier I'll be. Oh, also, we didn't really show them off, but here's all of those additional vampires we got here, as well as some Boethian Chosen, and we got some more threat tokens, so that's cool. More threat tokens. So let's get our deck out here so that we can add, oh geez, so that we can add all these other cards in. I think we're going to have to use that second tray that it came with in order to fit all of these cards in. Now, I currently have that second tray filled with pieces, so we're going to have to see how much space is left in there. top of the box. Just put these off to the side for now. Got some bags. Don't need this. I need this. And I think I'm going to need the other one. This is definitely not enough space. Oh no. Well, we'll see how reorganization goes here. So let's take out the 600s for the time being, because I think they're going to end up in the opposite box along with some of this other stuff. So since all these cards are in order already, we can just plop them all in here, going from 500 down. But my problem with this, okay, 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, 600. So up to 500 we have in this bin here, and it looks like we're now going to have to toss everything else in here, which is a bit of a pain because this is where I kept all my pieces. I'm going to have to find a way to store all these pieces now. The threat tokens, we'll add our things into there. That is all of my... This is my event deck set up for free roam. That's all the ones we can use in free roam. This is all of our Dawnguard stuff, so we're just going to put this at the back of this one here. This is all of our scenario cards. Those stay at the back. So we have our 600s here, starting at 683. So this is going up to 682. It does go up to 682. Look at that. So we now have all of our 600s in this bin here. Oh, we still got room. We still got room. I could probably fit everything back in there, maybe. So all of our 600s are here. We'll have a split with our house cards and our monster cards. I really don't like that those monster cards don't just shuffle in. It's going to be annoying. I'm going to keep them outside of the bag because that's definitely going to mess me up if I don't. This is separating our front from our back here. Let's punch those tokens out and add them in with our other creatures here. If I can get the bag open. And if I can find where I put them. Oh, there they are. Okay, so let's get all these creatures out here. I wonder if I should look into it. I wonder if the miniatures pack included miniatures for these as well. Or if it was just the base game stuff. Let's get these threat tokens out of here too. Something very satisfying about punching tokens out of a board. Oh, I've kind of tangled myself up here. There we go. Okay, I'll keep that there for now. Put these threat tokens in with these ones. More threat tokens. Oh boy. Oh boy. There was something else I wanted to put in there. The day-night token I wanted to put in there. Put it in with our horses and our player tokens. We've got our new characters, which we can throw in here. The only things that are going to be left in the box are the characters. I'm going to see if I can find a way to get the characters into this other box here. So those are good. I lied. I don't think we're going to have room to get all this stuff back in. I lied. This is, I'm going to kind of split this in the middle here. This is my free roam event deck. Can I squeeze stuff in here? Can I get everything back in? Will it work? No. Those are going to have to go in separately. I don't think this is going to work. Not all of them anyway. Well, mostly. Mostly. It's just the threat tokens we're going to have to find somewhere to put. But all these other guys fit in decently. So it's just the threat tokens we're going to have to do. It's a bit of a pain, but that's okay. I need this because we have some more. things here. We do have our specific decks for the Vigilance, and maybe it's just the Vigilance. Oh no, here's the Vampire one here, and some more Vigilant ones. So there are specific decks for the Vigilance and the Dawnguard and the Vampires. There are definitely a lot less for the Vampires than there are for the other ones. They're not numbered, so we're just gonna... So these are upgrade ones. That I know. Those are upgrades. Did it say... I think the other ones are just purchasable, right? It's its own shop, I guess. I don't think I read anything in the book about that. I probably did. But I guess this is just a specific shop for if you shop at the Dawnguard place. And then the Vampire one, I believe, is all just our power-ups and stuff. Vampiric Drain and Vampiric Servant. Now, are these going to fit in here? 'Cause I don't have card spaces left. Could put them there. They're going to slide around, but can put them there. These are some new items which go into our number pool, starting at 100 and going up to 116. So they're going to be at the back of this one. Oh, those are our stones. Did I play with the stones? I don't know if I played with the stones. Their statuses, the standing stones. I feel like that's something we missed out on. I'm going to have to double check that in from the Ashes expansion. I don't think we covered the standing stones. We'll have to, maybe we'll do that when we start Dawnguard. We'll throw them in there. 140. Oh, we're going from 80 all the way up to 100. And then that goes from 100 to 116, and then we continue on with the From the Ashes stuff. We have our Vampiric cards. Is there somewhere in here I can throw my threat tokens? Those will fit in there, right? Can I fit my threat tokens in this top one? There's so many threat tokens. Why are there so many threat tokens? I don't want to dump them out. I was considering dumping them out there, but I don't want to do that. Won't fit in here, eh? Not without bunching up on me. I don't know if I'd still be able to get that closed. I don't think I would. I might. Might be able to put them in there. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I guess we'll put these up here. Those were at the back of the thing. We've got our Vampire cards. We've got our search cards. These aren't going to fit in here, but I can fit those in with the other house cards and stuff, because that's basically what they are. Put all these in here. Actually, we can put these two in here as well, because it'll help us keep track of those pieces. I'll be able to get this back in. Ooh, am I going to be able to get this back in? I hope so. Yep, we're still good. We're going to put this vampire creature deck just in between here so that we know that that is the vampire one. We're going to keep it separate. Our little Stormcloak soldier here is going to have to go somewhere else, unfortunately. That is everything for that. The characters are just going to go back into there. I'll just toss that in the box. The characters are going to go back into the Dawnguard bin there. See how that goes. Okay, so this is all done up. Oh, we do have things on the bottom here, don't we? This was like set. I'm going to have to look up how people package this, because maybe we'll be able to fit everything in here, because I think they had set it up so that basically you can package everything into the box, right? So we'll have to, I'm going to have to look up to see how people are packaging things to see how we can get away with it. That can go into the Dawnguard box. I like keeping my punch boards. This goes into here. That card is popping up on me. Stay in there, please. This comes back in here. We're gonna grab our... Oh, I had that vampire and I didn't put it back. Where was that? Didn't put the vampire back. Of course, I buried all the creatures way down at the bottom. Somehow that one vampire has caused me to have less space. Somehow. This goes in here. Let's get our board back into the box. It's much easier to put the board away than it is to take it out. Our little militia man's gonna sit on the side here, I suppose. Get our box back on. That's that done up. Let's get our pieces back into here, which the only thing here now is just the cards, which we can toss into that box easily. And then our characters, which I would be nice if we can toss them into the box, but I don't know. We could toss them into the bottom there. I mean, there were spaces underneath, and I guess they already aren't really covered if we want to put everything in one box. But I think I'm going to have to look up storage solutions to find a good storage solution. Find a good storage solution. Who would have guessed? Let's put this on top here. And, oh, well, let me take this off first, I guess. And that is everything as far as the rules for Dawnguard go and our organization. So that's that for the rules of Dawnguard. Next video, well, maybe not the next video, but the next Skyrim video for sure, we will be hopping into scenario number 1 for the Dawnguard expansion. So thank you guys very much for stopping by. Hopefully you found this video informative. If you did, let me know down below. Also, if you have played The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim The Adventure Game, let me know what you think of it down in the comments below. Have you played the Dawnguard expansion already? Let me know what you think of it and if you think I will enjoy it. If you are over on Instagram, you can follow us at the Board Games Are For Everybody Instagram page. We just post pictures of games that we're playing as well as games that we pick up outside of the pickup videos here on YouTube. Just come over, have a good time, talk about games. That is everything for now. So thank you guys very much for stopping by. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Hopefully I will see you all next time. Until then, just remember that board games are for everybody. And until next time, peace.